Two beautiful churches now decorate our village, marking the conclusion of our first major building project. The second one is a grand library that only needs the finishing touches, but that's all just the start. I've got a seemingly random trench to put to use, we need a proper town forum, and our defenses also need a major upgrade. Playing on max difficulty without pausing after modding raids to be more persistent is no joke. The last three all put someone on death's door, and one even got a villager killed. Admittedly, a commentator pointed out that last injury might have been me misclicking and having everyone attack him, but the point still stands. Fortunately, the defense I have in mind is idiot-proof. Unfortunately, an idiot is the one who decided to call it that, but we'll get into that later. Our pet cow, Tax, is doing a great job of hauling. He's helping bring books from the old library across town to the new one, and he's even nice enough to put them on the bookshelves. I don't know how Willem did it, but he did an amazing job of training this cow. A row of walls goes in here to widen the gap so we can fit more archers in. The trench gets a couple more stairs in to mirror the original two, and a weapon rack goes on either side. I don't know why Going Medieval's art style is so enchanting to me, but I just love everything about it. The cellar can get a bit of an expansion. Although it's already stocked with so much that I'll never empty it, I and Willem alike can't bear to let apples rot just because our shelves are full. The seed vault also gets locked as we go into winter. This will ensure we've got a stock of barley, berries, and seeds to plant in the spring. Willem needs sticks to cook our meals, but he wants to ignore the stock we keep in the kitchen to go to the much further pile. I guess he just really wants to walk through his orchard. I can't say I blame him though, but people are slightly starving, so priorities, dude. And then he took his meal from the Great Hall specifically to run all the way to the library and eat there. The theses on distilling are just real page turners. Tax overworks himself. He's literally starving, but he goes to do one more hauling job before he eats a brief little snack. I guess you could say his job is fairly taxing. He's amazing, but so is the library. The final roof gets queued up. This place does need more windows, but those will go in after spring's here and trees can grow once again. I'm starting to run low on wood, and I don't want to throw 300 away on a vanity project. I mean, not when they need that for the statue of me that's starting soon. Those weapon racks down in the trenches get set to only take the lowest quality short bows, which I had someone besides Bergwina make. Her skilled hands can't make something bad even if they try to. The defensive wall up front is almost done, meaning that I can start on the actual gate to our stronghold and come to the realization that I messed up. The beautiful road through the center of town is 2 tiles wide. I want the choke to only be 1 wide, which means that it can't be both symmetrical and lined up with what we've got. That leaves something like this. It's efficient, protective, close to ideal, and hot stinking garbage. Why survive the raid if it means having things be 1 tile off of looking sweet? This is gonna make defending twice as hard, but hashtag worth. By the time night falls, the first level is largely in and the second can start. I've got a very specific idea in mind for what will eventually be the cornerstone of our defenses. It'll be a large tower that should perform great and look good. I am a little bit worried it'll be too compact, but I can expand it later if it is. Meanwhile, that trench is going to get some Merlons facing each other, plus a floor over the weapon racks to stop the stored arms from decaying. Back at the front, Jacoza's also learned the secret building technique that we have of being on the low ground and working through solid brick floors. Some actual Merlons can go in. These currently point at the brick floors, but that's getting broken down soon enough. A more efficient layout would have 5 side by side on each level of the tower, but I want the tower to look like it's a little bit sturdier. This will also make things work better at the front anyways. Cedric and Jacoza are starting to get along really well. They both like a good brawl and building. Plus they spend so much time near each other while they're doing it. Oh, I just realized that the open plan I had in mind for the smithing station isn't going to work. The game needs to consider it a room for the workshop bonus of a 20% speed boost to kick in. Yeah, the roof goes in, but this still isn't considered a room. So once the scaffolding and the beam are out, I'll throw a wall in there to make it a proper workshop, then I can start lamenting the fact that I still need smithing to be an efficient task. That entire walkway at the front of our base can get taken out. I think I used this a grand total of once, and only to walk to the fortifications that I could have instead just built the stairs at. The idea was not sound, but that doesn't really capture the full picture. The execution was also lacking. What had been a tunnel gets blocked off with a wall. The workshop also gets a wall, ruining my architectural genius. I don't actually need to have any more research done, but I'm gonna queue up a few extra theses every day. William deserves to hit 50 in intellectual. Plus, this will fill out some of the empty bookcases around our library. The forge gets scheduled for the new workshop, and honestly, even without the open roof plan, this place looks pretty sweet. It's time to start deleting the current defenses so that we can use the new tower. It's not entirely in yet, but there's enough spots to fit all of our archers if we do get attacked before that happens. I think it's also time to actually use the trench. I'm going to draft Wallace, Theodric, Clement, and Bergwina. They're going to take a flimsy shortbow and line up. Then they can start shooting each other. This isn't really a fight though. I specifically put them at their max range with the worst weapon possible and put them behind good cover to minimize how often they hit. Marksman experience is given per shot. Hits do give a little bit more, but I'm not about to injure my colonists to save a couple hours. Not about to injure them too much. They will still take the occasional hit, and Wallace is getting pretty unlucky. I'm definitely going to throw armor on them before this in the future. After they're capped on experience for the day, they can stop, and Wallace can waddle off to go get patched up. Despite that, this is going to be a daily occurrence to strengthen our fighters. Jacoza and Cedric were building through all of that instead of training, but that'll change in the near future. The third story of our defensive tower starts, but it's going to look identical to the floor below it. A few Merlons on either side, some more in front, and windows for the aesthetics. The ultimate idea is to build high enough that we can fit all of our archers on the side we're being attacked from, then have enough space at the front for them to move in once enemies actually get to our front doors. This should work nicely, without the issues that our previous defenses have had. Maybe, hopefully. This is an editor's note. It doesn't, and you might already be able to see why. I put some stockpiles for the various types of booze we have in the Great Hall. Theodric demonstrates this by going for the strongest booze we've got and downing some. It's so potent that he thinks he's simultaneously drunk and not drinking, all while he stumbles out of our Great Hall at the crack of dawn. My man needs to learn what not drinking actually means. Then again, maybe this is just how he gets through combat training. It's a new day, which means that it's back to the trench. I'm gonna have them grab armor first, then get to work. While my original plan was to rotate who trains here by time, with Willem and William going a bit later in the afternoon, that just takes too much effort. I'm just gonna instead make the trench a little bit wider so that everyone can train at the same time. Skilling up our melee fighters is a lot easier. Cedric and Jacoza stop building, drop their weapons, and just start punching each other. They do hit pretty frequently, and they don't hold back just because they're using their fist, so I'm also going to give them armor next time. After the pair are done, they can open up entrances into our base again. I will work on these more eventually to make them a little bit longer, and maybe finally start using traps. Oh god, Herbert, why are you digging there? You could be doing this from the high ground. I put this training in a trench specifically to avoid this. I don't want passerby getting shot. You know, in retrospect, maybe I should have just had them stop training for like 10 seconds for Herbert's sake. All the books have been moved to the new library, which means that I can get rid of the old tower. I can also start to extend the shorter entrance and carve out some more land for our village. What we have now is pretty dense, and I want this next place to be a little bit more open. It looks like we'll be testing the defenses soon, as the next colonist has arrived. Cristine is not much that she's willing to say. She won't talk about why she's running from knights, even though a brief conversation reveals her ruthless nature and bad attitude. The woman's a great doctor, because our village is basically a medical conference at this point, but she doesn't like it. And the rest of her stats are pretty spread out, so I'm not sure how useful she's actually going to be. Maybe a miner or a hauler? At the very least, she'll be another melee fighter. The marksman training trench gets the expanded construction put in, but no one's going to use it today. I don't want to risk anyone being injured when the raiders do arrive. Time passes quickly, and the raid's almost here just like that. After running late during the last attack, I'm going to send everyone to gear up early this time. Cristine is a melee fighter at heart, but we don't really have a melee weapon for her, so she's probably just going to wield a crossbow for this fight. The raiders well, actually not raiders. The knights arrive in the middle of gearing up, and they want her head. You know, given the circumstances, I thought she might be like an escaped princess that had run away, but she's wanted dead, not alive. Or not? After we refused, they left. I wonder if that's because we had been good friends with them. Even after the negative 120 reputation, we're still neutral. Of course, the only time I start preparing early, they decide to just peace out with their 30-something soldiers. Well, this episode isn't ending until we get raided at least once. We can at least get some training in. This is going to be the last time I show it, but I'll be having them train most days. Those with passions match up against each other so that they're done at the same time. I will eventually put them all in male armor. They'll be defended during training, but they can still move around unperturbed without me having to micromanage and drop and equip it every day. I also want to get the others involved in training. The fourth and final level of the defensive tower goes in. Above this, our archers start getting a range debuff, so I'm not going to build higher. Some traps go in on either side as well. I don't actually have a builder that can do metal traps yet, so it's wooden ones for now. I don't know what a couple will do versus the hordes that we fight, but it might make a tiny difference. God, this game has a great aesthetic. Ignore that they're clipping through the seats. I just love the look here. It's as peaceful as can be. Some walls go down to give us more space. I've got something in mind for here that should also be pretty peaceful. Oh, and another cow arrives. These are the most serene times. Although a roof on the tower goes in, sort of breaking that up. Do you still count that as being peaceful since this is keeping us safe? No, I'm not an ethics professor. I don't think ethics had even been invented at this point. Wait, why are you exhausted? Why are you even up? It's 2 a.m. Theodric, you too? Why are you hauling 2 bones in the middle of nowhere at 2 a.m.? Is Theodric a necromancer? I swear, suspected witches have been burned for less. Well, at least the cow's domesticated and can get roped over. They'll fit in nicely alongside the female cow normally in our pen. Animals only breed when they're within an opposite sex partner within 10 tiles, so Tax might not have time in his busy schedule. What I've got planned for the place near our smithing facility can go in. I know, I'm not even teasing it for the next episode. What a bad YouTuber. Wouldn't it be crazy if I lost a fight at the end of this episode and the series just ended right there? This is going to be some sort of a town forum. I'm imagining that this is a wonderful place where people get married, we have town meetings. Range training really does need to be done in the trench, but melee training can be done wherever. Cristine runs up to sucker punch Herbert while he's working as Cedric and Jacoza brawl at the new town forum. Herbert, it's not training if you don't fight back. Oh god, he's got a weapon. Break it up. The Circle of Avalon Merchant comes, which is pretty generous considering what happened, so I decided to give them a gift. I would like to go with apple pastries, but we make fine meals now. Unfortunately, 160 gold worth of stuff doesn't change our reputation with them by even 1 point. With training and construction alike done, it's time for the town forum to get decorated. Some candles, some town pride, some tables and chairs for events. For the floor, let's try a brick path in and limestone rows coming off of it. Nope, that's ugly. Let's get rid of that. I'll throw some apple trees in along the walkway. Oh god. Editing me now clearly sees the obvious thing, that the apple trees are uneven. And you know, I'm just forced to wonder, how in the world did I not see that when I was playing this map? I recorded another hour without ever fixing this, and now I can't even unsee it. Well, y'all are suffering with me. The rest of the floor goes in, I guess. The tree farm gets moved to the back of our base, with plenty of every kind along the path. Oh, another cow. We're getting really lucky on them. She's another female, which is going to double how quickly our herd grows once she's matured a little bit. The town forum is finally built in, and I like what's there, but I do feel like it's missing something up top. I'd love like a pulpit or something like that, but there isn't really anything that fits the bill. Clement starts smelting some gold and silver bars to see if that unlocks any furniture, like a golden chair that we could use as a throne, but no luck there. Any ideas what would look good to fill this in? Leave it down in the comment section if you have one. I'm drawing a bit of a blank. Huh, Cedric and William actually share a birthday. Guess that means we only need to make one cake. The current site for backgammon is really nice, and it's actually one of the longest standing placements in our entire village, but it actually needs an expansion. There's a queue for the tables at some points. The space by the Great Hall is perfect for it, and more apple trees. Another new colonist arrives. Hunlaf is a talented doctor, because of course he is. We have 9 colonists with us that have arrived at our border since starting, and only one of them, Wallace, doesn't have a skill over 20 or a passion for medicine. Oh right, Hunlaf, the guy who arrived. He's an escaped slave that was forced to be the bandits' doctor for various combat wounds they suffered. A bandit chief died in his care, forcing him to try and flee before they found out and blamed him. The man wants to help us grow so that we can go burn their encampment to the ground. But I mean, that feature isn't actually in the game yet. Shh, don't tell him. Also, he wants to help with research, but William has already taken care of all that, so I'm not sure what he's gonna do around town. We accept him and the huge raid that's gonna follow him in a few days. Hey, it's a few days later. Yeah, not much happened, but a lot is about to. Everyone's gonna get up early, but I did send them to bed early, so it should be fine. Cristine is rocking a 2-handed mace, and Hunlaf is rocking a crossbow. The slavers arrive, and while they are all melee folks, their 44 outnumber us 4-1, and most are the highest tier of marauders at that. Our melee fighters go to the gates, while our archers go to the merlons. They're split up between the floors with no more than 2 per. Their messenger arrives to tell us to release Hunlaf, and we greet him the only way you greet a slaver. The rest of their forces are lagging behind, but apart from a few overeager folk who rush in to die, they hit us as a mass. Our archers do admirably, knocking kill after kill after kill, but more still come. Their forces swarm through the gaps, making me think that I might have wanted to be a little bit cheaper by spamming doors instead of making it all accessible. The first get to our front, so I send our archers over there. In retrospect, this was actually a mistake given a defensive oversight I made. The doors are going to give the raiders some cover from this angle, and they didn't get that on their initial approach. You might be able to notice that the kill messages start actually slowing down here a lot. We're doing less damage this way, but we are at least hitting the most important folks. I'm more concerned with our melee fighters. They like to creep up a little bit when attacking someone new. I'm still worried that they're going to run out and get surrounded if they're left to their own devices though. The choice to have this entrance be 2 tiles wide bites us in the butt, since 2 enemies can hit the same door at once. Corpses litter the ground, but the door eventually breaks. I could pull our melee fighters into a concave here, but we've had issues with enemies pushing past them before. Instead, I pull back. They're going to stack too deep at this entrance. I think this will reduce the chance of having them get past when our colonists move up a little bit, but it does mean that we're taking more damage. Cedric and Jacoza start taking a steady spree of hits. Their health bars can't last forever, but they do last just long enough. The remaining enemies scamper off after a 9-hour siege in which we killed 36 of them. Hunlaf isn't sadistic enough that the violence thrilled him, but our show of strength has him realizing that he made the right choice in coming here. Everyone else heads to eat and celebrate. Our defenses definitely need an update though. Despite the victory, that was really close. I'm going to build a second tower that looks back at the entrance to avoid the issue of cover that we ran into there. That should drastically increase how much damage we do. That said, Trejafoot is essentially in the endgame. I'm planning some changes to the front to make it stronger. I'm going to finish decorating a few more buildings, but that's about all I had in mind. Do you have any ideas for cool structures or ideas I should set up? Either way, this story is coming to a close. The next episode is going to be the finale. Make sure you don't miss the end of this tale.